You're listening to Telecast PH. Today we're diving into a topic that every business leader faces when expanding their support operations. How to scale smart without sacrificing quality. And we'll get to it right after the intro. Hello all, and welcome back to another episode of Telecast PH in our series focused on scaling and managing support teams. I'm your host, Jeff Thompson, Director of Client Solutions here at Telework PH in the Philippines. I had an enlightening conversation with Stephen Ng of Splashtop, who is a seasoned expert in the field of customer support. Stephen has managed support operations on both domestic and international stages, all while slashing costs and improving performance and customer satisfaction. So in this episode with Stephen, we discuss the key challenges and strategies for scaling support teams without sacrificing quality or morale. We explore the importance of streamlining operations through technology, avoiding inefficiencies by reinventing processes, and maximizing the use of KPIs to measure success. What I really liked was how Stephen emphasized the value of aligning support with product development from the beginning and using support teams as an extension of sales to enhance customer retention. And we both agree that effective communication and leadership involvement are essential for building high-performance teams. And make sure you stick around to the end where Stephen outlines 4 key phases for success in scaling and managing support operations. But before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this podcast, Telework PH, a premier and award-winning BPO here in the Philippines. Telework PH, we build your team, you get the benefit. To find out more about how we can help transform your support game, or if you're looking for a highly skilled virtual assistant in any area of your business, just hop on over to www.teleworkph.com or hit me up on LinkedIn. Just search Jeff Thompson, Director of Client Solutions and the voice of offshore outsourcing. Now let's get into the conversation with Stephen. Stephen, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Jeff. How are you doing today?
And I'm on top of the world as always. And listen, I really appreciate you being here and doing this with me because I know that your expertise, you have a lot of value to offer to our listeners.
Well, thank you. I'm excited.
As am I. Hey, do you want to go ahead and just talk a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself and what you do and, kind of go into your experience?
Yes, great. So again, my name is Stephen Ng. So I'm currently a Senior Director for Global Support and Customer Advocacy for a company called Splashtop. We're a secure remote access software company that service a lot of the IT organization and support teams as well. I've been doing this probably for about 30 plus years and been working with a lot of companies in how to scale them and build out organizations to be effective and efficient.
30 years. Oh, you've seen a lot of changes in the support landscape over that time, I'm certain.
From paper, we did paper to CRMs, ticketing systems, you name it, and until to this day and age where we're integrating, different technologies, whether it's forms of Gen AI and maximizing the people that we are utilized. And again, back to, how do you efficiently and be able to maintain cost as you support your customers to the highest level possible.
So right there, you hit the keyword efficiently. So in your experience, when you see companies or the companies that you're with are scaling their support operations, where do you typically see the most waste or inefficiency?
Usually what happens is they're scaling more likely to be one-to-one. As their business grow, they're just I need to add more people to support that growth. And you have to get to a point where it's really one to many. And part of that is how do you look at the operations and figure out better ways to streamline. You're not thinking about almost reinventing the wheel every single time an issue comes up, but versus how can I maximize the processes and be able to do one to many. And that's a key part of properly scaling your organization.
I would have to agree because, I've seen support teams that, instead of looking at the processes and the flow charts and everything else as they're growing, because they're so, maybe overwhelmed, I guess I should say, that go-to solution is to just hire more people, add more people, which yeah can lead to, like you said, just one too many. So what do you think are some of the key strategies for reducing costs and support teams when that happens, but still maintaining customer satisfaction?
Well, the first thing you want to look at realistically is puts the support organization actually in the forefront. Most organizations and companies, they build a product or develop a service. That's their number one goal, get to market. And then
Right.
the last thing they think about is, oh, how do we support this product or the service? Support. And that's usually the last piece that fits into this whole cycle. And really, you kind of almost have to flip it. It's part of when you're introducing new products and features and services, you have to include support as part of that entire process to go to market. And if you do that, then now you're baking the service support all in one. So that's including training, including resources. So when you are actually having to go to market and you're supporting, you're actually in par with the level of service that you're expecting, and that'll allow you to be more efficient and streamlined. So that's where part of the scaling is, and then you're not reinventing the wheel here because you're already building your resources and you're maximizing your support cost and as well as the knowledge to be able to support all these new products that are being introduced.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is, support becomes an afterthought as the tickets start to come in, the customer inquiries and everything else start to come in, and they say, wow, we need to get somebody on the phones here. And that's what really puts support in that role of a cost center when it doesn't really have to be a cost center. It doesn't have to be, a money hole. Um, for a lot of companies, it can actually help with the growth, especially with the new products and everything else, by like what you said, having the support agents involved with the training and being trained on the new products and new services or whatever's being released so that they can actually, educate the customers when they call.
Correct, Jeff. I mean, if you haven't looked at, if you just brought something up about cost centers, right? That's usually the image or the rap that the support organizations get, right?
Yeah,
Oh, they cost
exactly.
us money. But in the next day and age, you really actually flip that script. And what I mean is support can actually be a upsell. It could be a tool as your SDRs, your outbound sales team. Your support is your window to your customers and the company. Right. Most customer after they purchase, they're not calling the salespeople. They're calling support.
Right,
They're the
exactly.
people that's the organization that most of your customers are going to be interfacing with and talking with, building that relationship and bond. So what better way to converting your what you say cost center into an actually an arm of your sales team and allowing your support agents be able to upsell, educate your customers that may, oh, I do need that. I do need that add-on. Or wow, this is actually a great feature that I didn't even think about. And that becomes is turning from a cost center and into your next sales arm, right? Ability to upsell your customers that they're already talking to, versus having marketing to try to get new leads and increase your funnel. This way, you already have a captured audience. People are calling your support organization already. So that's a
Exactly.
different spin, right? How you want to look at things.
Exactly. And it's also great for retention. You get a frustrated customer that calls up and wants to cancel. Maybe they're not using the product right. Maybe they're not understanding all of the features that could be there. So the support is there to, like, again, educate them, enlighten them on how to use the product and what the benefits can be, rather than just, taking the call and trying to, appease them and try to fix what's going on. Sometimes it is that education that really needs to go on when it comes to retention as well.
For sure. I mean, this is where it's a philosophy change. Like for like the company I work for at Splashtop, we're a very customer-centric company, and the support
Mhm.
organization follows the same philosophy, in which we're happy when customers call us. I know most times they're not going to call support to say hi and say, yeah, are
Right.
you having a great day? It's usually something they're asking for, whether it's an issue or they just need an assistance, and whether it's a subscription or just technical issues. They are talking to our support agent, and this is where you want to increase that experience, allow your customers to be heard, resolve their issue in a professional manner, but yet you want them to walk away with a positive experience interfacing with your company. So that's been our goal in Splashtop is working with our customer base to allow that experience, and we are ranked pretty high in our CSAT score. Our Gartner review
Nice.
it in our third quadrant, and we just got that recently. So we are always pushing the envelope on customer experience. We want to be able to service them well and be able to empower them. And our job is to connect those stories together. And whether it's, oh, gee, you use this for, connecting and helping your customers in 3 a.m. in the morning. Well, our software can do that. We have support that can support you 24/5. And how do you be able to make that seamless? And that puts your customer at ease. And that's always been a goal for us. And if you follow that mantra, it's customer first. It's just, I know people say that, but we actually really do breathe and live that, and customers will feel that. And then that you talked about churn and retention. Customers would like to stay with companies that they are happy to work with. And that's a key part of our success. It's reduce the churn is because you build that bond and relationship with your customers.
And that's a good thing because you mentioned CSATs. Now, CSATs are very powerful, but happy customers, even more so in the past, I would have to say 10 years, customers have always been word of mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Nowadays, with social media, they have this huge megaphone, which makes it, they can just amplify their word of mouth. So walking away with a good experience, like you mentioned, means they're going to go out, they're going to get on social media and say, man, or, on LinkedIn or whatever, I had a great experience with this company or that company. Their support is amazing. They walked me through everything. So that's something that a lot of companies need to keep in mind, that just one angry customer going away or unsatisfied customer right away, to it's just the norm these days to take to social media and start talking about it.
I agree. I mean, this day and age, technology has come so far, and it's every day is just something new, right? And you're right. The world gets really small, especially through technology. Whether for us, we do monitor like all our Reddits, and we have Trust Radius, Trust Pilot, G2. A lot of the Facebook, they're out there. So when someone talks about you, people do listen. It's not back in the day when I first started where it's like, oh, you get, customer sends you a bad letter to your supervisor because they're upset about their interaction. It's just transactional at that point. But now, like you mentioned, it is a megaphone. It is the loudspeaker where they can post this, and it'll be heard by thousands of people. It's a potential. So you definitely need to abide by that philosophy of customer first and customer centric organizations, because one voice will actually be heard by thousands.
So that being said, so we know, I mean, it's how important it is, nowadays, or more so now than ever, let's say, that those customers go away happy. So what do we do when, perhaps sales are down and we need to cut some fat, cut some inefficiency? And we look at our support team because, some companies do look at that as a support, or I'm sorry, as a cost center. And that's the first place they want to attack. They want to trim and start cutting people, thinking that is going to solve the problem. But now you mentioned technology. Do you have any insights in, like, perhaps the company that you're with now, what role does technology play in optimizing support operations, in order to keep costs low?
to this day and age, there is like Gen AI. There's people probably heard unless you're somewhere circling the space somewhere, but there's Chat GPT, right? That's out there that it hit the market like it's been around, right? AI and generative AI has been around for a while, but in the past couple of years, with OpenAI announcing the first versions of ChatGPT, and now they're on 4.0. The capability is endless and boundless, but at the end of the day, you're still going to need good, clean data and be able to maximize it. So it is, yes, technology is there, but it's still going to take some people to input right data for it to come out. It just allows you a more efficient way of presenting some data, right? And that's where efficiency comes in, right? Back in the day, what we used to do, we'll have like a BSA, a business system analyst. They will run some reports and some SQL commands, and they'll generate a report in Excel, and they'll generate a pivot table just to present to your management team so they can digest it, right? But nowadays, AI can do a lot of this stuff, but you still need to have somebody to be able to manage that data that is accurate data to be able to do those things. So you can take away some of that fat, but I still truly believe it's not going to replace people. But what it will do is be a little more efficient. And that's a mistake a lot of companies do go down, right? Yes, they look at support. Well, gee, look at the P&L. We can cut, 10% of that, what you just said, fat on a support cost. But at the end of the day, you have to look at it, it's like now you're going to have less people servicing those customers that you're the face of the company. And then their CSATs can go down. You have unhappy customers, and then you probably get some churn and you'll lose retention because of it. It's the opposite you should be thinking about is really how do you maximize, yes, use more with less. And part of it's technology, whether it's, generative AI that allows people to understand what the customer's talking about, and your agents can actually summarize a lot of the information that your customer's talking about quickly, and then be able to, at the fingertips, be able to get a lot of the information without having to go and try to spend more time finding it. That's just being streamlined, being more efficient than versus just cutting the bottom line dollars of headcount. And that's a key of how do you scale and actually cut costs, but actually it's to maintain the cost, right? It's versus going one to one, you're doing one to many. And that's the first step in doing those things is building those repeatable processes, making
Right.
sure your SMEs that are your key rock stars, they are being maximized and efficiently utilized without burning them out, because that is such a valued resource that you have in your organization. So yeah, I look at technology as not in a means to replace people and resources, but it's really to utilize them to the fullest, and yet also have the potential for retention and growth at the same time.
Being in my business, when ChatGPT was really hitting the news, what was that, last January, I think it was. There was a lot of fear, among our agents and among, a lot of the BPO companies about ChatGPT taking over, their jobs. And you hit the nail on the head there when you were talking about, you still need that human there, not only for the human touch when it comes to speaking with the customers and reaching out to the customers, but also, like you said, interpreting that data. All right, because you know AI is still in the middle ground. It's at the point where it can look at the data, it can organize it, but rationally think like a human when you're looking at that data. So, cutting people, if you have to downsize, reducing support hours is only gonna, further put you in the hole because you're gonna have more and more angry customers. But if we look at the flip side of things, so a company's experiencing growth and wants to maintain, like you said, to maintain those costs, to maintain that profit margin, but obviously they've got to beef up their support, staff or, capabilities. Where have you seen it? Have you seen in the past, and if so, where that's done inefficiently while scaling up?
Inefficiently? Oh,
Yeah, while scaling up, what mistakes have you encountered, in the past where, maybe they're just adding more people like we talked about in the beginning, this, hiring people and adding more people until it becomes a big, you know, nobody knows who has the knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
it makes sense, right? Because that is the natural reaction, right? Your support manager is like, oh my gosh, we're overwhelmed. You could do the normal KPIs, how much volume and different channels that come in, and you say, oh, we have so many people. If I just, you should do some math and just doing some, utilization for that, uh, you can say, "Oh, gee, I need to go to my COO or my VP and ask for more headcount." That's just the normal reaction versus really taking a look: is my organization really efficient? And what I mean by that is, are they able to take more volume and be effective and have happy customers versus take less volume because you're inefficient and having unhappy customers. So there's a balance there where you need to start to figure out, like, how can I do build an organization that's repeatable, that's high performing, and be able to have achieve happy customers. And that's the medium, and technology can help leverage that. And as a frontline manager or director, you want to start building your organizations to, like I talked to earlier, it's like you want to avoid reinventing the wheel every single time something comes up. You should be able to start building your organization, and with that, your process and system and tools that you can say, hey, I seen that, been there, done that. This is how we'll apply it. So as you grow as your organization, you can still apply those methodologies. And that's when you become more efficient. And this is where, I worked both sides of the coin, right, in my tenure, where we're building in-house. And usually that's how it started. I worked at small companies where we had like 3 or 4 support agents, and we just started small, and then you
Mhm.
build internally. But then if you explode, and then you're going to have like 40, 50 support agents, it's the cost to train them because they're coming from outside the organization in. That's a huge training curve and cost to do those things. And
Right,
this
it
is where
is.
sometimes in my experiences, we use like call centers and BPOs where
Hmm.
they know our product, right? And they've been trained already. So the cost is now, you're not reinventing the wheel because you already have these processes already pre-built. And as your organization grows, you have specialized SMEs already knowing your product and services, and it becomes seamless because you're not reinventing the wheel because you have a training staff, whether in some BPO that allows you to do those things. I don't have to now take my team lead, go and train new people because we have to hire more people. That's a cost in servicing your customers. Now, like I said, back to reinventing the wheel. You already built it already, so now it's just keeping the gears and wheels turning, and be able to now exponentially be able to service your customers without having to do the one-to-one growth. It's more like one-to-many, and build out those processes so you can actually save money. Your cost cutting is from not reinventing the wheel every single time something comes up.
Right. And one of the benefits you brought up BPOs, and I'm glad you did because that's what we do. And one of the benefits also of partnering with a BPO is, yes, like you mentioned, you're getting seasoned agents. We're sourcing a team that has dedicated their life to customer support. Here in the Philippines, it's a career, customer support. And that they've really put a lot into themselves, our support agents, as well as, expanding their knowledge and, of course, English and everything else. But along with that partnership does come insights. One thing that, bring on a new client for a support team, a lot of times, and I hope I say this right, but, they're in a bubble. You know what I'm saying? So they only know their own support operations, where we have the experience of having support operations among different industries and different companies. So we have all of that knowledge and experience. We can make suggestions. We can help with processes and procedures. And we can also help scale quickly. We do all of the sourcing, we do all of the interviewing. You know what I'm saying? We do all of the assessments to make sure that there's the best fit. And of course, obviously, since in the Philippines, the dollar has more buying power, you can actually add support hours overnights, weekends, holidays, and stuff like that to work alongside the in-house team, right? So,
I
you can still build your in-house team, but you build your remote team to work alongside them.
I agree. I mean, this is where depending on where uh, the growth path your company is at, right? So in support, like I say, when I worked with like a startup company where I was like employee number 7, and so you're doing everything. So you're starting small, so you kind of have like 2, 3 agents working with you, and you're doing everything. But at some point, as you're starting to grow and the fortunate part of it, your business grow and the demand starts to take the place, but it's hard to now every single time. Like I said, you're reinventing the wheel because now you have to train someone new to come on board, and then you train someone new, and that takes a lot out of your support management to train someone new. And this is where when you have sometimes like a BPO that can have that kind of structure and that training process and recruiting, it does makes it a little easier to scale. And that's depending on what each company's and organization's growth path is at, right? Sometimes, like I said, you're small, you could do it yourself, but you're going to get to a point where you're going to need that scale. You want 24/7, 365, and have that ability with skilled agents to be able to man those demands that can help do those things. And depending on the companies, because I've been fortunate. I look at my tenure. I worked at companies where support was just part of the cost and didn't really manage it that well in the sense of like we need people, we just hired people and didn't really track what it will cost. And sometimes some organization I worked at, you actually as a leader in the support side, you have a P&L. So that's your profit and loss. You're managing the amount of you have a budget, you have the cost of from tools to even down to manpower, the hours, all those things to make your customers happy. You're totally responsible for that. So some organization will do that, and you got to manage it. You got to manage it well. You just can't go and say, "Well, I'm going to hire 5 more people because we just got an uptick in volume." You want to be efficient, and you want to be able to be responsible, a leader, and manage your P&L properly, and come out not being necessarily a cost center, right? But it's allow you to be an asset for the company. And these are the things that allow you to do that is doing the right things for not just the organization, for the people, for your customers and the brand. You need to do all those things and be a good consideration for be a successful support leader.
Yeah, it's sometimes it really is, for support directors and support leaders that they're just walking that razor's edge. You release a product, you get a huge, peak volume times, you add people on, you hire new people, and now you're responsible for them, and then there's a dip. You know what I mean? So then you have people sitting around, hopefully, writing knowledge-based articles or something, trying to make use of that time. And it really just instead of using things efficiently, it turned out the opposite. Now you're wasting more money. And so now with your experience and you mentioned that you've managed, support operations both domestically and internationally. Um,
Correct.
so uh how do cost saving measures differ, across regions? How do you adapt if you're running a remote team and you're running an in-house team? Where do you have you seen any differences in cost saving measures?
End of the day is always dollars. You always have to figure out, like I say, if you're managing a P&L, no matter where you are internationally, there is differences by region. Depending on where you are, if you're like in the Far East, sometimes they're more focused on relationships, right? Versus if you're in the States, it's more transactional, kind of in and out. Some companies are more focused on, time to resolve, first call, and how fast you pick up the
Right.
call and close those tickets. Versus, where you're in, some other countries, they're more about relationship, making sure you build that bond and be able to effectively manage the customer's expectations as well. So it depending on each region, but I've noticed it different than everywhere I've gone. So
Yeah, I mean it is it's hard to describe, the differences in cultures and economies and
yes.
everything else to people that haven't experienced it. You and I have both experienced both economies. As you mentioned, you've been here to the Philippines. So I want to circle back to another, I took this note here because I think that it's really important. I think that it will hit home for a lot of companies. Now, you mentioned about, training and training costs and, that learning curve that you have and the training curve. How do you balance, scaling your support team quickly and ensuring that they're properly trained with and aligned with company values, but still maintaining the customer satisfaction? Because, if you're experiencing growth and you have to train agents quickly, let's say we don't partner with a BPO or we do partner with a BPO and we have to train them as well, that takes resources away from your in-house team, right? So if you're
Correct.
having growth and you have to do training, again, you're walking that razor's edge. How do you balance that and keep the costs in line?
Again, back to reinventing the wheel, right? This is where if you build processes in part of your training, where you can almost reuse a lot of the trainings per se, like whether you're using some type of LMS system or you have dedicated trainers that are working with your, like I mentioned earlier about, working from the beginning of the cycle instead of having support be the last piece, which I have experience where we introduce new products, whether it's hardware or software, and then the last piece to go to market, oh, we got to check off and train support. But rather having them part of the building process, right? Part of the go to the market strategy. The market strategy is having
Right. Okay.
board at the table. So when you're building this product and you're asking for feedback, doing UAT testing, you're having support be involved in that. It's like here at Splashtop, our support team works directly with our product management team on a daily basis. So the feedbacks we're getting from our customers directly to our support, it's going right to our product and engineering teams. So you're building a real time, and this way support is involved from the beginning versus at the end where, oh gee, we're about to launch this in 3 weeks, we have to train support, which I've been at companies like that. It's like, oh, we forgot about support, we got to train them, and then we'll have like an all hands training, and you expect them to be efficient, which usually doesn't happen. This way, if you're having them part of the conversation from the beginning, allows them to be one, be part of the decision making, two, part of the feedback loop, understanding because they're your biggest users versus other than your end users, and then they're trained in time, real time. When you do go to market and you release, support's already aware of what's going on, and it's a lot easier to train from that point, was basically the final refresher versus some from the day one beginning of training.
Right. So is it basically, preventing a fire rather than trying to put it out later? When
Correct.
I'm right. And I think the same thing should be true about, at the start of like bug fixes or, something that should happen, with something in the background. Support should be notified immediately that, hey, we might see a spike in inquiries or in complaints or customer calls because we've had this thing break in the background. I mean, we've called them, P1s in the past. We're setting the priorities, what I'm saying, where if you have an app or something and it's like this total blackout, well, support's just going to be slammed for the next day or so trying to figure
Sure.
out. So let's talk about escalations, critical escalations. How do you handle the challenges of managing critical escalations as your support team scales? So again, we're back into that. Maybe you're going to go back and talk about reinventing the wheel. Maybe my questions are a little redundant here,
Oh
but
no.
do you think that this becomes harder or easier with growth, managing the critical escalations?
It does get somewhat harder in scale, right? And then I mean that
Right.
because when you're small, you're just starting out. The companies that you have may be smaller in size, but as you go up market and then you become in the SMB market, then you get into the enterprise market. Now everything that you do is times X, right? It becomes more critical because when you had that small company, it's a team of three or four, it's not as critical in a sense, not saying that they're not important, but the impact may be less. When you have an enterprise customer, you may be talking about, could be impacting millions of people at a time.
Right, right.
Could be business financial impact that's going to be so critical, and so the escalations, of course, it becomes more critical and exacerbates as you go up market. So building your escalation process from the beginning, and knowing people, knowing what to do and how to escalate properly is a key to your success. Because when you're small, you're escalating, maybe the person sitting next to you is your agent, and or you can talk to my boss and you just hand it over to me, and I'm talking to the person. When you get a larger enterprise, it's going to go through a couple of C suites maybe or VPs, and then there's more eyes and voices that are in these calls. So you have to build these process properly. And once you build those, as you scale, you can maintain the escalations. Is the criticality and impact, just the severity, what we usually call it, whether it's severity and impact, and building those processes from the get-go will alleviate your firefighting. And you will have fires. It's part of the nature of the business.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. There's
It's
no way
gonna
around
happen,
it.
no matter what it is, whether it's your fault or not, because we are dependent around the internet world, right? Whether you use, some cloud provider or some other provider that is in front of your product or how it's gonna execute. Because you don't house anything anymore, right? We use a lot of cloud-based services
Right.
or services. Something can go down, and that can impact your delivery of service, and which means it's going to impact your customers. So, how do you react to those things efficiently, quickly, and how can you remediate those things effectively as possible? Is a key. And again, back to, you know, reinvent the wheel. It's about, you've seen these things before. You don't want to be, you have an escalation, an outage, or whatever it may be. You're not running around trying to reinvent something because you already have those processes built already. So you're efficient. They'll say, hey, this is a fire drill. We have these things happening. It's a P1, high impact, high severity, and we just invoke the escalation process that's already been pre-built already. So you're efficient. Everybody knows what to do, how to do it, and be able to execute well.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean that is golden advice for anybody listening now that may have a smaller company, may perhaps a startup, but is planning big growth in 2025, to know that now's the time to start building these processes before that growth hits. So again, like you said, you're not running around with those high impact situations, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to have, efficient communication among all of your departments.
For
So,
sure. I
um,
agree.
bringing that up, that's a good question. I'd like to get your feedback on what communication strategies have you found to be most effective in maintaining like a high performing support team, across regions, like between, say you're setting up a remote team and you have your in-house team. What type of communication strategies have you seen that have worked the best?
A lot of communicating. It's that's the bottom line. It's about being available, being engaged, whether you're sitting across from the person or organization halfway around the world. It's building that cadence, that open communication that you're working side by side with every organization, every department, every person that you need to interact with, understanding your key stakeholders, have that open communication and understanding and be open to feedback. That allows you to have a high performing organization because you're getting feedback. You're not just pushing everything out, right, with the bullhorn, but you're actually listening as well. So this way you're collaborating and it allows you to get feedback and understanding and everybody's on the same page. So high communication works well and that's the key to, I think, success to a lot of the high performing organization is the open. We may not all agree, but understanding and listening and be heard and have a voice, that's a key to any organization success.
I totally agree. I mean, there's so many collaboration tools when it comes to communication these days. I mean, we use Slack, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's been really effective in, working with our teams in the US and Australia, with our clients because it's just like an open level of communication. I'm sorry, an open channel of communication at different levels. So, you have the channels that are there just for leadership. You have the channels that are there just for the above leadership, the higher level. And then you have the agents, but yet it's all in one place. So that's been effective. Weekly or bi-weekly or monthly meetings, with the leaderships, over communicating, like, sometimes you can get irritated with, yes, I already know that, but 10 people have told me, but that's actually a good thing because that's showing that everybody is together. And like you said, giving that feedback because you can't improve what you don't know if there's a problem. If you don't know there's a problem, why change it, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that over communication really helps between, remote teams and, in-house teams. And the one thing that, of course, everybody has seen an increase, and I know that your company has seen an increase, since pandemic. And I always hate bringing up pandemic because that was 4 years ago, but it
Yeah.
did change a lot of things because it changed a lot of the mindset of not only agents but even some management and senior levels. With all of these tools such as your companies there, the remote is becoming more and more possible, more and more efficient, more and more effective, right?
I agree.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
I-
having that communication will allow that to happen.
it allows you, technology allows you to do this, right? It leverages someone's like we're a Microsoft shop, so we use Teams, but there are so many tools that back in the day, I was happy I got a BlackBerry, and it was like, wow, I'm connected to the world. I'm out in the field, the field tech. I'm connected now. I'm a hot shot now. I got a BlackBerry, right? And but that technology you think about where it connected you, and you were so proud that you were able to get your email mobily without having to lug your Toshiba around your Tecra and say, hey, I gotta flip open my laptop to look at my email. I get this on my BlackBerry. Wow, I'm already connected to the world, to my company. And then now this day and age where technology allows you at a flick of the switch from whether you're using any type of smartphone, you're connected, and be able to get that communication, get that knowledge. There's nothing more challenging than you have an agent or any employee that's in your organization say, I didn't know that. That's scary when someone tells you like, we launched what? I didn't know that. That means somewhere along the line, the communication didn't happen. And
It broke down. Yeah,
it broke
exactly.
down. And that's a challenge, right? So I think part of it is communications, and like you said, it's over communicating. There's nothing wrong with that. But having that communication is a key to a lot of people's success. Like part of it, like I always think of this way, Jeff. It's like I always have four stages to success, and it applies to anywhere in any facets of business or your life. There's usually four phases, and I look at it as one. The first phase is usually it's preparation, right? This is part that you're going to prepare, whether you're going to launch a support organization, you're going to get everything, all your ducks lined up, right? The systems, training, all the tools that you'll need, and be able to prepare for that before you launch your support organization or even the product. And then before that, then you have your approach. And this is where all the preparation you have done, all the training, all the knowledge that you need, all the people that you need to hire for, all the right people that you want to hire for. Now you're about to train them. Now you're about to do your approach. This is actually getting them on the phones just before you get them on the phone. That's the approach, right? Make sure you have workstations, the tools, the phones, everything you need, the systems, the CRMs. And then the next piece and this is the shortest part of the phase, is the execution. This is the shortest phase. People think executing is the biggest portion of your phase. It's actually is the smallest because you're just going to do it. And how you do it successfully is how you prepare for it. How do you approach the execution just before you execute it? And then the last piece is your follow through, the follow ups. And then that's just total force phases to success in anything you're doing is the follow through. And then you prepare yourself again. Then you start that whole cycle all over again. Your preparation, approach, execution, and then follow through.
That's golden advice. That's golden advice, Stephen. That reminds me of a quote by Abraham Lincoln, I believe it was, who said, if I had 4 hours, I'm paraphrasing here, if I had 4 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 3 hours sharpening my axe.
You got it. Right? That's preparation, right? Then you approach it. You're gonna walk up to that tree with that sharp axe you have. You haven't chopped it yet, but you want to make sure you come up to the tree properly. You're not gonna crawl up to the tree, but you with your sharp axe. But now you're properly in front of the tree with your sharp axe, and then when you chop it, that is the shortest part.
It's the simplicity of it that I think gets overlooked a lot of times. I've been seeing this a lot on LinkedIn too, and we've had this, in the past but a lot of people that know me, I'm like, I'm an alcoholic. I used to go to AA. I've been sober 13 years, and it was,
Congratulations.
thank you. But in the early days, it was always KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Of course, they've dropped the stupid, but that's what they used to tell us. Keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it. And here, your 4 steps, nothing could really be more simpler than that. And it's simple, but yet so powerful. So, I want to make sure that everybody highlights that. And here's this approach.
Thank you.
But let's move on real quick. Just a couple more questions, Stephen. Let's talk about KPIs really quick as you scale, because that's another part that, managing KPIs in a smaller team, it's manageable and it's easy. But as you scale, keeping track of those KPIs, making sure that the team, a larger team is hitting them not only individually, but as, separate teams and under the operations manager. That's another place that can leak money, because if you're not hitting the KPIs, if you're not hitting the metrics, if you're not hitting those CSATs, potentially losing customers. What's your advice about maintaining KPIs as you scale?
Stress it, it's so important. Even from a small organization, even you have a team of 3 people or less, KPIs are so important. And the reason why I stress this is, and of course, as you get larger, it becomes even more paramount. But the reason why is you need to know where you are today. And then you want to look at where you want to be tomorrow. And if you don't measure those KPIs properly, you will never know where you are and how can you get to where you're going to want to be tomorrow. So you have to start from that aspect, building realistic KPIs that you can take action against and understand your business better. That's what KPI is going to do for you. And then as you build your KPIs and you're going to incorporate your OKRs into it, that allows that you're leveraging those things that, hey, this is where I'm at. I may not be happy with it, but it is what it is, right? This is where I'm at today, and I'm going to measure those KPIs. And then a month from now, a quarter from now, I want to hit these, and this is where I'm at now. And then the long term is this is where we need to be at. And then you're hitting efficiencies, and you're looking at things that you may need to be more efficient at or better at. Those are the things you can focus on to get to that long-term goal of hitting those KPIs, your dream. You want to be at this, you want to shoot for the stars, that's great. But let's get from where my feet is on the ground here. I need to start thinking about how I get to the stars, and building those with milestones as you scale, and you can start improving those KPIs. That'll give you a successful organization.
Love it. Well, Stephen, thank you. I'm going to leave you with one last question. It has to do more so when it comes to support agent morale. Okay. What is the biggest lesson you've learned about scaling support teams, without sacrificing team morale, if that makes sense?
It makes perfect sense. It's really somewhat being in the trenches with your support agents, understanding them. Like not necessarily where your cloth has been built, right? This is where you're coming from, and if the agents understand that from you as a leader, your team morale should be high. And I mean that because you're relating with each and every agent that you're working under you. You're leading this organization. It's building that authenticity of knowing what challenges they are facing, and you are actually the advocate to making those things. You're the basically, you're blocking and tackling for them. And if you're that advocate, that morale will be high. For us here in Splashtop, we actually, our directors, our VPs, and even my co-founder, they're actually in the trenches with my team sometimes. And what better way for your agent to ask a question about how our product is built when your CTO is in the conversation as well and can give you all that tribal knowledge from day one. That's a huge morale booster for your team, because you're now looking over your shoulder. You have your co-founder in these conversations with you and helping you and genuinely assisting you with your issue with a customer. I mean, that's powerful to me, and building that authenticity and genuine, care for your agents. I think it's a huge morale boost for any team and organization.
I absolutely agree. Leadership is everything. You know what I'm saying? And instead of, you know, just penalizing the support agents for having low morale, I guess, and giving poor service, being involved with them, yeah, that is a big morale boost. You know what I'm saying? When you're sitting there
Yes.
and the upper management, the leadership is right there with you. We get it, is basically what they're saying. Yeah, we get it. We get you. We got your back. Stephen,
Yeah.
thank you very, very much. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Is there any last words that you want to give to our listeners?
Always give service, the best service you can, and I appreciate the time, Jeff. And thank you very much for speaking with me. Thank you very much.
Listen, this has been amazing. You've given some great insights, and I'm looking forward to talking to you more. All right,
Likewise.
take care. All right,
Take care. Get
thank
some
you.
sleep. All right. Take
All
care.
right, all
All
right.
right.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
And that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Telecast PH. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Jeff Thompson, and if you're ready to explore what offshore outsourcing can do for you with a remote team or a virtual assistant for your business, check us out at www.teleworkph.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. And until then, may the force be with you.